and it says we are live. Hello, everyone. I am number one Marmaduke fan, and welcome to my podcast, Academia. Today, I am joined by two friends who are both artists, both creatives, and huge fans of Horikoshi's My Hero Academia. So, when I introduce you, say hi. First, we have Alice Snow, who joined us on our first podcast.
Hello.
And joining us for the first time is Spyro Shurtagul. Is that how it's pronounced, Spyro?
Yeah, very close. Very good.
Yeah. So Spyro and I are old friends. She
Mhm.
is an independent artist. She does anime husbando art on her Twitter, and she's also
At
a
the
huge
moment.
fan of My Hero Academia. And let's see, is Twitter like the main place for your
I
art,
just
Spyro?
remembered something. Sorry.
Yes,
Yeah?
Alice.
Or
Uh,
yeah, go for it.
no, I forgot something that we were supposed to talk about backstage.
Oh, okay. You if you type it out for me, I can check it if you can't say it.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries. All right. Well, so Spyro and Alice are actually probably the bigger My Hero Academia nerds here. So my plan for the day was we're going to be discussing chapters 2, 3, and 4 of the manga. This lines up with episodes 3 and 4 of the anime series. I guess I'll give a general spoiler warning now. So I'll give Alice and Spyro the chance to talk about anything they want related to My Hero Academia. So I'd recommend this series. Go check it out. But we're basically just going to talk about anything that's kind of like of interest to us, anything that stood out to us about the series. So Spyro, you weren't able to join us for our first episode. Would you like to say anything about episodes 1 and 2 that you really like, or anything about them that stood out to you?
Sure. Yeah. When I was going through just to kind of rewatch, I didn't rewatch episode 1 because I thought we were doing 2 through 3, but I was wrong. But I do have stuff for episode 2 for sure. Just maybe from like an artist standpoint, some things that I notice about My Hero Academia. I'm pretty sure they still continue to do it, but it was just very prevalent and something that I noticed when I was watching. But like I really love their camera angles and like the compositions for feeling for the mood of a time of a scene. Specifically, say like when Deku is at school and he's like talking about how he doesn't have a quirk and he's really upset about it. They have him like cornered in like the lower bottom half, and you see mostly just like the school board, like blackboard in the background. And I just thought that was a really interesting piece. Specifically, and then just noticing certain things like I really like the action sketchy lines that they use for specifically All Might. I kind of went back and was looking through the different styles of art for like most of the characters, and it's really only for All Might that when it's his action scenes, it's very very sketchy. And I think it's I know that I had heard that the creator of My Hero um was actually um very much into American comics, and I thought that was really cool how he's done like Superman style for All Might. And you can see that in both the action sketchy lines, and especially obvious, like the most obvious is his like silhouetting that they do. And in the manga then you can see like all the cross hatching that they do specifically for All Might. You don't see too much cross hatching actually in other places.
Yeah,
So it is interesting to see how he's the creator took these American comics styles and have it put into his own style for each character specifically. So that's something that I really
Sorry about
liked.
that.
I was wondering where you went.
I think that
Yeah, I
Horikoshi
was
said
trying to.
he uses one whole pen. He uses it up just to get a full frontal shot of All Might because there are so many dark black shadows. Yeah,
Is that what he said? He uses up his whole pen just for that?
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
If he's showing like the whole chest, yeah. And I don't know if they do it in the anime, but in the manga, Deku actually tells a joke that when he sees All Might, he says, "Wow, he's drawn in a totally different style." So it's a manga
Yeah,
specific fourth wall break.
absolutely. Also, hello there, Bahis. He's one of my viewers, so I'll just say hi. And yes, All Might is super
Welcome,
Where's the
Bias.
monstrous.
Yes.
private chat? Oh, that way I can send you this
That
weird
is
link.
on the right side. You'll find that, Alice. It's got like a speech balloon and little lines on it for the private chat. Yeah, so maybe tying into what Spyro noticed about All Might. The other fun little behind the scenes stories is apparently Horikoshi's editors hated the design for All Might, and one of them even proposed that he should be like a really girly looking man, right? But
What?
Horikoshi had to fight for his artistic vision. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Why? That doesn't even make any sense for him to be a girlish man.
He's supposed to be an American. Yeah.
Yeah, America.
I doubt many of us Americans are supposed to be like that.
It's the ideal. It's how Americans wish we were in our head, or we have to be the American that Japan thinks we are. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's always so funny to see how the
Still can't find
Japanese.
that private chat thing.
Oh, it's if you go to the side here, it says private chat and comments, so make sure you're clicked on the private chat section. It's just a tab. Though I don't know, I'm on desktop, so. Um, but yeah, it's always just so funny how to see the Japanese or just send it in the Twitter chat if that helps you too. But like how they depict us is just so funny. I actually recently just watched and finished what's it called? I hate I'm Sakamoto or what
Yeah.
yeah.
I think "Don't Worry, I'm Sakamoto" or "Haven't You Heard, I'm Sakamoto."
Yes,
Yeah.
haven't you heard I'm Sakamoto? And near the end there's a part where this Japanese schoolgirl is thinking about what if Sakamoto went to America, and they specifically made it like a NASA thing, and they had every single person with this ginormous nose, and they also had like all the women were like blonde, blue eyes, like huge chests. And it was just
Oh
really
my!
funny to see how they like it was meant to be like over the top for that at least that little portion because they were basically saying that that girl that's how she was viewing the stereotypical how they view Americans, but then when it was like he actually was in America, it wasn't drawn that way. It was just kind of a little funny tidbit, so it's just
Nice.
interesting with the Japanese and their views of us.
Yeah, it's okay to have cultural stereotypes a little bit. It's a loving one.
Yeah.
Americans, we have our. I think All Might drops the line that he has the American dream plan. Right, he's not just a American; he's the most American of Americans. So,
Yahoo Cowboy
we're,
Jacks or Jocks. Yes.
I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for him to say, "Oh yeah, cowboy."
wait a second, Smacky Sonichu is here.
Yes.
That sounds like Punchy Sonichu. You're supposed to be here, Smacky Sonichu. All right. Oh, I guess
I
I have to
think
go.
it's just because he's listening in on us because he can't.
Gotcha.
Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, he
Yeah,
says
real life intervenes. Yeah. All right. So one thing
Yeah,
that
so
kind
he's
of stood
most
out to
likely
me,
going to be jumping around.
that's totally fine. So one thing that stood out to me is how wild All Might looks in the manga. Like you can tell
Yes.
Horikoshi's really going for this exaggerated, emaciated style, and there's this severe contrast between All Might in his normal form, his weak form, where he's just totally bedraggled, and his heroic form, where he's just the pinnacle. I thought that was kind of cool because it's the art style kind of like visually reinforcing a narrative point, which is that All Might
Mhm.
isn't as strong as he looks like on the outside. Uh, and where chapter 2 starts, basically, chapter 1 ends with All Might telling Deku, "You too can be a hero." Uh, I watched the show and the manga, and I noticed that even like a lot of the angles are directly pulled from the manga
Mhm.
for the show. But so the big twist starting in chapter 2 is that although Deku's been quirkless all of his life, All Might tells him that he can inherit his power, and he describes the power, the one for all, like the famous Musketeer phrase. So the one for all is a superpower that can be passed from generation to generation, and it grows in strength with every generation, which is something Deku's never heard of. And he goes on this comedic rant where he's sort of mumbling to himself that that's not something that anybody has ever heard of, even in like superhero nerd world forums. No one's ever heard of a quirk that can be passed down. So
Right.
this basically is the big twist that sets up the rest of Deku's journey and him going from a powerless teen to becoming a superhero.
Here's how I became the best superhero in the world, or whatever he says at the beginning.
Yeah. A couple things I really like about this whole chapter overall is I like the emphasis on seeing Deku have to
Mhm.
earn the power rather than just be get handed the power for no reason. And there's this really neat theme where All Might isn't just teaching him to like bulk up his muscles. All Might's also trying to teach him to have a self-sacrificing spirit. So his job for Deku is to clear a whole bunch of litter off of a beach, building his muscles. But then he shows him like the sunset. He crushes a refrigerator and shows him the sunset and makes the point that a lot of superheroes are doing this for glory. I want you to do this just because it's something you're doing for the community. It's something you're doing as a civic responsibility. So it's heroism and busting your butt basically at the same time.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. That was actually something that I made note of as somebody who's watched or is like at least caught up with the dub. Um, it's just really interesting how well he draws out Deku in general, like going from this really, really scrawny kid, and like specifically he's drawn him in a style, at least something that I noticed in like the anime, the
Okay, I'll
style
punch
that
you. Can
he's.
stop texting me, please.
I did see him in the private chat. But yeah, he's drawing him in that comedy style. You know that comedy manga anime, you know how it has a very specific looking drawing style for
Uh-huh.
those types of animes and mangas. I noticed that he does draw Deku like that in the beginning, but like as the show goes on, and he becomes a more serious like actual hero, it's just interesting how the art style even for Deku changes in all
I
that.
think Punchy. I think all punches backstage.
He's being a smart aleck. All right, I'll tell him to behave himself.
I
Alice,
think he
anything that
wants you
stands?
to add him.
Okay, let me see here. Yeah, I can add him. All punchy has returned.
Hello,
He couldn't resist.
hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Because I do have to go in a minute, but Tom is kind of slow, so it might take a little while for him
All right.
to show
Well,
up. So I could join just briefly.
all right. Are you gonna make the obligatory haha gay comment about this whole chapter, Punchy?
Well, one like was this the one where he swallows the hair? Because that was
I think
pretty
it's
gay.
the end of
Yes.
this one. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Well, one of the things that I was going to touch on, because Spyro, you weren't around for the last show.
Mhm.
I think the issue with All Might being being the big American jock, and they wanted him to be kind of a more effeminate, beachy kind of guy. Um, the thing is, like, in Japan, in Japanese culture or whatever, they do actually seem to favor ladylike, effeminate guys, especially in like popularity polls for superhero comics and things. So choosing to make All Might, have the sort of like Greco-Roman, American style physique, was very much a risk for him, I think.
Interesting. Yeah.
It wasn't just that, hey, this random guy wanted him to be effeminate. I think the issue is that there's a pressure to make, Japanese heroes, a little more twinky, a little younger, a little more girly. So
That reminds me,
this is
in
a big change.
Japan, they used to have men act as women in some stage plays. Can't
Oh,
remember what
Movie
that
theater,
was.
yeah.
I heard
Yeah.
that
Theater, no
too.
theater. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
we
and
did that in
that's
we did that at Shakespeare's day too.
Yeah.
yeah, but the Japanese are still close to that, because that kind of stuff was going on. Actually, I think probably until we blew them up. You know, to some
Wow.
degree.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah, so that kind of cultural tradition is still very alive and well over there.
I mean, I guess that makes sense too, because if you look at like K-pop and J-pop
Mm.
type people, I mean, and the people that like even just look at BTS, all of them are very good-looking guys that they're very clean-shaven and and they have the eyeliner and makeup. That does actually very much hold up now that you say that. So I can see where you're coming from now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I wonder how
wasn't that the
I
same?
wonder how much of it.
Weren't those the same incidents that actually brought about Godzilla?
Oh yeah, the nuclear bombs. Yeah, that was the root of Godzilla. And like I'd mentioned in chat, that the fact that we blew them up kind of changes their perspective on us. And I'm only half joking. I think it really did have a profound effect on Japanese culture, especially through after the war. But yeah, like things
They
like
couldn't do samurai
BTS.
movies. They couldn't do samurai movies for like 30 years. Like it was a big deal when when we allowed them to do samurai stories
Yeah,
again.
well, I mean,
we were
they-
good in impressing them.
yeah. We occupied them for years, and even today, it's the most American part of Asia, except maybe South Korea. But yeah, and BTS and all that kind of K-pop stuff. I mean, those are more explicitly designed for girls. But it's kind of like Backstreet Boys minus the one tough guy, right?
Oh,
Because it's like the American and Western boy bands, because they always have at least one tough guy, who has a little beard, and he's not he's
am
still
I the only
approachable.
one who cringes at the Backstreet Boys reference?
Oh no,
Oh no,
I
I'm
would
an
hope that you would
NSYNC
all
fan.
cringe. Yeah, stuff like that.
But what's
One Direction,
interesting to
whatever.
me, thinking about NSYNC specifically, is that everybody was a Justin fan, and thought was more, uh, well, it was just like more of feminine, not the tough guy one of that particular group.
Yeah, was he? Because
He's like
I
middle of the way.
apologize for this. This is going to get me cancelled, but I've never really listened to NSYNC. But so Justin, that's the guy
Timberlake.
that. Oh, okay. And he was like the girly one then.
Yeah, kind of one of them. There was also Lance Bass, who was, I would say, was more on the feminine side, and then yeah, I think the other two were like, were then they had the sunglasses and the little goatees,
Like the cool top, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So maybe relating to effeminate protagonists, I kind of want to ask the panel: Is Deku too effeminate? That's one of the things people roast about him. They'll call him a little crybaby. Like I have a I have a good impression of Deku. I feel like it's the thing that Horikoshi's doing is he's saying, yeah, this kid's kind of a wimp. He's kind of a milksop and a crybaby, but his commitment is to being more than that, right? So I kind of see it like on
Coming of
it's a
age
fault, but
story.
it's an endearing fault. Yeah. What do you guys think? Is he too much? Is Deku too much of a crybaby?
No, I
I
think
will
that's
fight
one
for
of
him.
his strongest. I think that's one of his strongest points
Mhm,
because it shows that he can be relatable.
mhm.
Because not everyone is going to just stare at something awful and just like hold on to this brave face.
Yeah,
He
no, I agree
basically
with that.
shows he's not afraid to show his more compassionate side.
Yeah, I definitely have always agreed with that as well. Is that like I know that a lot of people really, you're right, like rip on him for being so like yeah, crybaby and he's weak and stuff. And that's not what you normally see for the main character of stuff like this. So I think that's why a lot of people were so quick to jump on him for it. But at the same time, I just love how um he's gone in a completely different direction than normal like action shonen stuff, stuff like this.
He's
Where
unique.
yeah, and it makes him somebody that I can feel like that's me, you know what I mean? Like I can relate to that. I feel like I would be a crybaby too if I was working out that much. uh
Trust me, I cried too. I'm not afraid
but
to admit that.
Well, the trick is to wait until you're somewhere that nobody can see you, like a bathroom stall or something, and then you can cry after the workout.
uh,
Old
activating my
army trick.
cat
Just
quirk.
remember that.
No, me, I confess. If I'm tired enough, I will confess all my sins
uh
if
But
I
yeah, and
work out
actually,
too
if you
much.
want to talk about who I think would actually fit into the effeminate role, that I don't know if maybe he was making a joke about because of so it makes you think about oh shoot, what's his name? It's like this the sparkly guy with the belly button like
The-
laser. So then
Oh,
it makes you wonder.
Aoyama,
Yeah, it makes
Mr. Can't Stop Twinkling.
Yes, can't stop twinkling. So, like, then do you think that he was trying to make a point with that character because he actually is like super effeminate and like that very typical what maybe they were looking for All Might, and he said no?
Oh, that's interesting.
I
Could it be?
I think he's more of a gag against like French people in their proper ways.
I mean, that's true too.
I'm
One
I don't really remember that character. Was he in these first few episodes, or does he show up later?
he does pop up. He's the belly button laser kid.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
he
don't
shows
remember
up.
him at all.
With cheese, fromage.
He
Oh.
stole Deku's kill in the training episode or in the school,
That's right.
school
Oh,
exam.
okay. Okay, yeah, I completely forgot about him. He wasn't French characters. I just can't be bothered with.
We've only just
Oh.
okay. Here's something neat actually. I think that Horikoshi does a good job of you see the secondary characters doing stuff before they're introduced. So I kind of know who he is because later that character's introduced and he made a thing. But if you didn't know he would be a thing, he'd just be like a weird one-off background character in that one episode before he's brought out and given a name and made part of the team. Yeah.
Well, a couple things I could say about that. One, just to answer your question, Mom. I think we went over this in the last stream as well. As far as the main character goes, I don't really like him that much, to be honest. But I don't think he's like, I wouldn't go out and criticize him on the internet or anything. Like he wasn't that annoying. He wasn't like a Steven Universe kind of character. He's
You
just...
did not go there.
Yeah, sorry. Shoot, I forgot you were here. Okay, I disavow any comments about Steven Universe for the duration of this stream, just so my fiance doesn't beat me up. But yeah, he's more like have you ever seen Gurren Lagann?
Yes.
Yeah, the
Love that
the
one.
main character from that, and the whole initial arc where, I didn't really like him very much either. I like Kamina because he was
Simon.
Simon, that was him, but Kamina was just, he was the guy that you really liked and
Yes.
you really looked up to and you really wanted to be like. But Simon was in that exact same position, right? So you're kind of seeing Simon as he grows into that position. So I just kind of view Simone, yeah. I mean, yeah, I can see why people wouldn't really like this character, but I think the point is that it's a coming of age story about a very young teenager who is working hard and diligently at becoming the sort of role model that like All Might be. So that I think was fine, and as far as this twinkly fromage French guy goes. I was going to say actually One Punch Man does that as well with Sweet Mask. He's another like side character who's very pretty and very girly, and he's like the most popular superhero in the world. Even though he's not the strongest superhero, he's the one that like all the fans love and want to be like. And he definitely not going to give away too many spoilers, but in that manga, he definitely subverts that trope of the effeminate handsome guy is the hero. So I think that and of course One Punch Man is also very heavily influenced by Western comics. So I think that's definitely a point that's being made, right? Because this is a Western. Is there a Japanese word for weeb for America?
I think they call them Americano manga or something.
American
anime, yeah.
Like the like the dorks who really like American stuff. Is there a word for that? Like a weeb or an otaku or something?
I wish I knew. Yeah, I wish I knew what
the
official Japanese word was, but I know that subculture exists. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they're the Japanese equivalent of weebs, then, I guess, and I do think that that's probably intentional as kind of a satire or a little jab at the Japanese tropes.
We talked about a bit about One Punch Man. Like, I definitely feel like I guess the question is like, how Japanese does a thing have to be, right? Like, is the manga-ness of manga, is it purely a Japanese? What's interesting to me is there's this like I'm showing this panel because we see like the weird, withered All Might, and we see the maybe more Americanized All Might side by side. So is it just an artistic reference, or do you guys think that the American vibe is informing the character and the story at all?
I think it's more like American culture is like All Might is a big fan of American culture hero, so that was probably what instigated his design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I've gone on rants on Twitter before, and I know you guys are all sort of social justice skeptical. I guess would be the word, especially about like canceling people over cultural appropriation and things like that.
No, I'm usually just quiet.
Yeah, you're pretty chill, I know, Alice. But one of the reasons that I don't really believe this narrative of cultural appropriation is because I grew up with so much Japanese culture, and the thing is, like, it's not really like quote unquote Japanese. It's the product of over a century of give and take between Japanese media and American media, right? Like the very early days of anime were inspired by Walt Disney, right? Like this was explicitly
was a Disney nerd, yeah.
yeah, it was they were all Disney nerds. Astro Boy, probably the most famous of the kind of the early days, or the early golden age of anime, I guess, because there was even like pre-war and during the war animes which were heavily influenced by Hollywood and Walt Disney and things. Japan has wound up making its own style, right? And then obviously, like the Americans came in, they took over. Japan started to get its own identity again in the arts, and that went over to America, and now we've got weebs everywhere, like the Boondocks and things, and that again in turn is flowing back to Japan. So
it's not monolithic. It's people.
Yeah,
everybody influencing everybody until it
everybody is influencing everybody, and especially Japan and the United States, right? There's a very close cultural interplay. More than anything in the field of animation and comic books and art. So I don't know if you can really say and film too, right? Like I was going to mention Akira Kurosawa, who's often viewed as the quintessential Japanese filmmaker. He's one of the first guys that dared to make samurai films, back in like the 1950s, when it was still, you can't mention anything like that. Don't be too Japanese or else the Americans will throw you in prison, kind of thing. But if you go back and you watch Akira Kurosawa, like he's got a ton of Japanese references, and he's very proud of his Japanese heritage, and it's very definitely Japanese. But a lot of his plots come from Shakespeare. Some of them basically directly. Other times it's kind of a reference, like Ran, for example. That's just King Lear with a bunch of dudes, samurai dudes, instead of princesses or whatever.
Yeah, Shakespeare plots, no and kabuki theater inspiration.
Yeah, all mixed together.
It's compared to Hitchcock a lot, because it's that same school of thought of like visionary directors who were actually thinking about the specific visual elements of film. That's why everything looks like it now. It's like George Lucas takes inspiration / steals from Kurosawa.
Star Wars.
Kurosawa steals from Shakespeare.
Everyone always mentions that. I'm actually not sure how much he ripped off for Star Wars. Like, I've seen Hidden Fortress, and it's definitely different from Star Wars, but some of the tropes and some of the characters, you can see where he was getting from Star Wars, and the Dam Busters too. This old British film. This is a complete tangent, but if you ever get a chance, go on YouTube and look up side by side comparisons of this old British film called The Dam Busters with the original Star Wars, right? A New Hope, and it's crazy, how many almost shot for shot he was taking from Dam Busters.
Nice.
But yeah,
right,
so
I want to bring us back to
bring it all
back
to bring it all back. My conclusion would be that I think it is Japanese, but you have to remember that there's no such thing as a purely authentically Japanese culture. It's all been melded with American culture. It's just a question of to what degree is
we're all
is
in the
there
melting pot together.
Yeah.
Right.
At least Japanese art nerds and American art nerds, they're all in a melting pot together. So,
all right. So something I wanted to point out that stood out to me before we get into chapter 2 is I really like the scene where All Might catches Deku overworking and going beyond the program. It kind of adds a nice dash of realism, because we always have these Shonen Jump protagonists who they train in 100 times gravity. So I think it really humanizes Deku to show that he's committed enough that he's pushing himself beyond his limits. But All Might is kind of like his cool surrogate dad figure, doesn't want him to push himself beyond what his body can handle. And then it's kind of like this nice thing where he says, let this old man adjust the plan for you. So he kind of simultaneously gently criticizes Deku, respects Deku's passion and commitment, and decides he's going to make adjustments to help Deku go even beyond what he was initially pushing him to do. So he's the best kind of dad coach figure in that he is lovingly but firmly kind of pushing the young man to get every last ounce of strength out of him he can possibly get.
Well, I mean, honestly, this
Well, considering that Izuku's dad isn't around, so
yeah,
we really don't know
But-
if he
and-
was starving for a father figure.
and the fact that, I mean, that's just a true thing anyways. I always I thought it was interesting, even just watching the show, that, you know, yeah, Deku is like, well, I gotta do everything I can to be, you know, to be the best, and, you know, is trying to become, and he thinks that working really, 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 really hard is what's going to make it work out. But sometimes we just have to be told, you know, actually, you can retro act what you've done by not taking the time to stop and breathe a little bit too. um so it's just maybe a reminder of like, you can't always be go 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 go, because you might actually be doing worse for yourself if you don't stop and take a breather.
Mhm.
It's also a good setup for a theme, I think, because in later chapters, like the way Deku uses his power hurts him, right? So he's self-sacrificial and heroic, but there's also this maybe dark side to him that he's really willing to hurt himself to achieve his goals.
He's
So it's-
suicidal. Like his self-preservation isn't there anymore.
Interesting.
I think that's fair. Yeah. So I mentioned this in the first episode. One of the big debates I've seen, and I kind of like believe in this fan theory. So the fan theory is in the original Japanese subbed edition, Deku is supposed to be legitimately suicidal, which is what makes Bakugo's taunt to jump off the ceiling especially cruel. Is that Bakugo's teasing Deku
The
on something
roof,
precisely,
not the ceiling.
yeah, yeah,
Roof.
jump off the roof. Yeah, yeah. So
Oh, right.
what makes it cruel is that Japanese Deku is actually suicidal. And then the fan theory was that the English dub softened that a little bit. I've never been able to find the video arguing that, but it was a very persuasive argument, and I buy it. Sort of like in the English dub, they're making him feel a little bit more grounded, a little bit more like a mentally healthy young man. But there is kind of like this maybe, I don't know, crazy or depressed edge to the character that I think comes through. Yeah. He's kind of like, he's the kind of young man where if he doesn't have like a good father figure, this is the kind of young man who could just as easily be a villain as a hero, right? So towards the end of chapter 2, we get to see Deku's growth and how jacked he's gotten, and we get the infamous eat this hair. You have to eat some DNA. I don't care what DNA, as long as you eat some DNA. Like it
You know, the first time I saw that, you want to know what went into my head?
Oh no! What?
I kept thinking that Deku was probably thinking, I need an adult.
Yeah. I am an adult.
Well, I mean, he does have an adult right there. That's kind of the problem. You know, I'm just not going to say anything about eat my DNA, because, you know, I don't. It basically speaks for itself. So
apparently,
I think that's the closest it's gotten to really bad.
Yeah, I mean that was just, you know, they knew they knew what they were doing.
It seems bad, but in reality, it's innocent, right? Nudge, nudge, wink. All right, so
I guess I didn't take it that way. So
that's a guy's thing, Spyro.
Well, actually,
we can't help it. We see
I'm a
guys
girl.
hanging out and...
Because I know the American translation, like in the anime was like DNA, like specifically something about DNA. But was that also true in the Japanese version?
It seems that I watched the Japanese sub, and it seemed to talk about DNA too. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. In that case, that's
I mean, I just don't know how else you would go about it. I mean, it's literally like gifting a part of what you, I mean, own. You know, it's like your quirk, it's your abilities. How else would you, I guess, give that? Well, I mean, that's kind of like in the movie when Deku gives the quirk over to Bakugo for a split moment. It was because
Temporary.
the blood of was being moved over from their hands, and that was what connected that DNA in that regard.
Yeah, but by having a physical transfer of power, I guess what's nice about it is it gives it like a logical rule. It's saying this is the
Yeah.
rule of how the power transfer works. Like the
Yeah, you
joke
can't
is
just take it.
yeah, he was probably expecting like All Might to just like lay his hand and bestow him the power or something. So the whole point of the joke is that's a weird way of gaining a superpower, but it's nice that there seems to be like a rule that we're expected. This is an important rule, and it's going to have implications on the story.
It's like it's
in the
anchored
future.
in reality.
Yeah,
That something
Fantasy,
has
yeah.
to be given instead of it just being given like like in that ethereal plane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's establishing, logical, consistent rules. Unlike some other creators, you
making it up as you go along.
Yeah, you just make it up as you go along. But it's
Dragon Ball
nice.
Z.
Well, I mean, Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, okay, I guess that's true. I was gonna try and defend Dragon Ball Z, but I guess that is just make it up as you go along.
I was going to defend Akira Toriyama, but I forgot.
Yeah. Well, he does everything else really well. It doesn't really matter that the plot's stupid because it's almost better that it's stupid because it's a big dumb guy show with big dumb muscly guys punching each other in the face and screaming.
You don't have to remember your characters.
I heard that voice actors do not get paid for grunts and
really
and screams. So
what? They should.
I heard that they don't
get
paid for that.
I think the rule is you have to have one word of spoken dialogue in order to get paid for an episode. So
that's
sometimes that means So sometimes that means that cost-cutting animators will try to get around that by reusing old dialogue or just adding a bunch of grunts. Because if they have you say one word, then they have to pay you, right?
What if you're an animal character? Like an expressive animal character. Do they just?
Well, Frank Welker's made like a whole career. He might, but Frank Welker must have a heck of an agent, right? Who makes his case for him. Like he's the animal guy.
I feel I would like to know where you got that information from, because I mean, from everything that I've seen about, I mean, I know that voice actors.
I can't remember. I think it was
very well, but
let me think. Oh, right. It had something to do with MLP.
And that's Canadian. So
I've heard the Batman voice actors. I've heard like the Batman voice actors talk about a rule similar to that. Like when they would do commentary on here's the behind the scenes, and then they'd make a big point that it's not. I don't think it's that they don't get paid for it. I think it's like there's like a bonus if you are a speaking character, as opposed if you're just like coming in to do some grunts or sound effects work, right?
Like dying.
The sweeter gig is the spoken role of a recurring character, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's easier to do just like than it is to actually, carry on a dialogue. But
that's not necessarily true.
One question that I've got related to this though, because you guys all know Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
Is it true that they just like reuse, like they get the characters like the lady who does Pikachu? Did they just film like a single take of like her going Pikachu, and then like loop that endlessly during the show?
No,
or does she?
I know something
No.
about Pikachu.
There has to be more
language.
because it has to be a mixed up of different tones. Because you hear him go Pikachu, and then you hear the slow Pikachu, slow or tired Pikachu sound.
Okay, or like any other characters then, like some of the side characters. I mean, was it ever the case that they just, had them do one line and then just endlessly used it?
No,
No,
I
I
feel
think
like the
that would have to
Japanese.
go. I think that would have to go. The closest thing I can think of that is Nurse Joy.
I feel like
Okay.
the Japanese really take their voice actors seriously and
They take pride.
respectfully. So I don't think that they would. I can imagine maybe 4 Kids doing something like that, but not like the Japanese people for sure. I feel like they would probably do every single thing.
I would agree.
Mm.
Yeah, down to I believe that they actually have a translatable code for Pikachu where the Pika Pikas are actually supposed to mean specific real Japanese words. So the one I remember is Pika P is supposed to be Satoshi, which is Ash's name. So not only do they not
Oh,
just cycle it
Ah,
endlessly, they are like
that's
ridiculously
cute.
persnickety. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. All right. So to bring it back to MHA, maybe
Yeah.
Deku could be a Pokemon trainer. All right. So one nice thing about the manga is we get a lot of Horikoshi's notes on his character designs and changes he made, and he's very thoughtful as a designer, I think. So I'll
Mhm.
just kind of like I'll just read this for the audience and for you guys. So behind the scenes, this guy started out in a one shot that didn't end up getting serialized, but I felt like using him again, so he's largely unchanged. He may look a little plain for a protagonist, but when I tried covering one eye with a lock of hair, all I could think was, get a damned haircut. So I kept him plain. I honestly think that the plainer he looks, the better. And he kind of like, he even has like this running gag of Deku wearing really boring shirts that say like t-shirt or pajama shirt on them. So great notes. If you want to see like a designer's thought process, Horikoshi has some really great notes uh,
The thing
for
I
his thought
like
process.
about that is because isn't that basically like everyone? We just grab something to put on when we go out, and unless if it's a big occasion, we really don't look at what we put on.
Yeah.
I've done that before. Yeah, there's a little Deku sloppiness in all of us. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that goes back to why I think Deku was very well thought out in the fact that like even though people call him like a crybaby, he was meant to be somebody that we can put ourselves into. It's like he's kind of like the lowest of the low. So if you feel like you're the lowest of the low, even you can put yourself in there. That's like one of the themes of the show is like you can be a hero too. You can be a good person no matter what abilities you have. And that's
Even
something
if
that
you
I
have
really
no
appreciate about
abilities.
this. Yeah, exactly. And so that's why I like Deku so much is that he was meant to be somebody who is like freaking low of the low of the low because if we can even be if we're just even a little bit above that, so anybody like Deku and up can, be a hero too.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
before I thought when I first saw it, I thought Deku was going to be more like a Batman character.
yeah. Well, that's
I
actually
thought that
kind of
too.
interesting. That you brought that up, and also Batman, because there is a tradition of introducing relatable characters that kids can insert themselves into, right? And with
Mhm.
Batman, that was Robin.
Mhm.
Robin was originally designed, as far as I know. This might be fake lore. Mom can correct me if I get this wrong. But from what I understand, like Robin was originally designed to be a relatable character that kids could get into, and he'd go along and he'd do like cool things with Batman, and the kids could be like playing and they'd be like, oh yeah, cool.
Not only
And
that, but it would also considering his background, he comes from very humble roots.
yeah,
Most of them
he's
do.
most of the Robins, they're kind of orphan kids or whatever, miscreants that get scooped off the streets, but they get to do cool things. And the interesting thing about that, also Scrappy Doo, right? Like Scrappy Doo is probably the most notorious example of that. They wanted to reboot Scooby-Doo, and they're like, hey, what can we do to make Scooby-Doo more popular with the kids? Give a kids character that the kids can, enjoy and put
Annoying
themselves into.
Scrappy.
Yeah, and that's my point, because
Exactly.
every single time this winds up happening in a media series, right? Robin, like, people don't hate Robin, but they definitely don't like him as much as Batman. And Scrappy
Oh, they
Doo.
hated it. They hated the second Robin like no tomorrow.
Well, yeah, some of the Robins they hate really bad, but they don't hate him as much as Scrappy Doo. But there is this trend that, yeah, this thing happens, but then the kids don't actually wind up inserting themselves into the crappy kid character. They, when they go out to play, they don't want to get stuck as Robin, right? They want to be Batman, and they want to be all these other kids. So, it is possible that that's one of these things going through the manga. But if that is the case, I think it's falling victim to that, the Scrappy Doo effect, or the Robin effect, where kids reading this, they see All Might being really cool, and they see these grown-up superheroes being really cool, and when they go out to play, well, I guess stay in to play now, on their phones with their card games, they, I guess, not want to be All Might, but they want to collect the All Might card and use the All Might card on their gacha game or something, right? They don't want to be stuck as the Robins, so that could be partially what's going on here. People, they don't want to relate to somebody that's like them. They want to relate to somebody that's that they want themselves to be, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like Deku himself. Well,
Deku
The thing
seems
is
more
that
like everyone.
the thing that Horikoshi
Yeah.
is doing well is how he's slowly passing the torch to the next generation. Soon, Deku and the others will be like the adult heroes, and then they will have to be on. Then they will have students of their own.
Yeah,
Something I want to praise about Horikoshi is I think he's really good at having a sort of symbolic idea very literally and concretely illustrated. So, like, Alice, tying into that, like, the one for all power is literally passed down like a torch, right? So he has that theme, which is kind of like the big symbolic theme, and by using one for all the way he does, he explains it kind of like it's very crystal clear, right? Like a 12-year-old kid could kind of like latch onto that and get that. And I think that's something I see in chapters 2 and 3 and 4. He always has some kind of like really direct way of communicating the theme. So I want to bring us back to chapter 3. So chapter 2 focused on Deku kind of like earning his spurs and building up his muscles. And the theme is he actually has to build his muscles just to be able to use All Might's power, because it's that overwhelming. So Deku arrives at the testing center, and we get a brief glimpse of Bakugo, who we learn laid off teasing him after the incident with the supervillain. He's still being a jerk, Bakugo, but he's not picking on Deku at the moment. Deku tries to psych himself up and tell him this is his first big step into being a hero, and he immediately trips over his own 2 feet and meets Ochako Uraraka. So maybe Spyro, then Alice. Talk a little bit about this chapter. Deku going to test to earn his entry into UA. Maybe talk a little bit, like, do you guys like Ochako Uraraka? Just to give me kind of like your general impressions on the story so far at this point. Spyro,
Well,
Yeah.
when I saw, oh wait, no, it's your turn.
Oh,
Not mine. I'm after
no,
you.
you're good. I mean, I guess I was so focused on like Deku and Bakugo, I didn't really think much of it. But I mean, I like Ochako. I think she's adorable. I you know,
she's a cinnamon roll.
yeah, she is. She is adorable. and I don't know, like I don't know if she's supposed to be like the typical shoujo love interest. I just love how he immediately is like, I talked to a girl. I love that part so much.
There it is. Yeah. Gleam.
Yes. Yeah, I
Note
thought that
didn't
was
actually
so
talk.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's too real. That's way too real, that panel.
And so it just reminded me of like some shoujos that you see. I guess, especially the drawing that they did. I guess in the a little bit more in the anime. I think they pushed that more shoujo looking version of him in that moment, and I really like it. um, but I don't know if I have too much to say about Ochako and at this point. I've always liked her. I don't have anything against her, you know. Maybe Alice
Alice,
does.
Alright.
any thought? Do you ship them, or do you ship Deku and Bakugo, or do you ship Deku
Is that the
and
OTP?
Ochako?
No,
Oh, no.
I ship Ochaku with Bakugo because
you're one of
Ochaku was basically was the first person, one of the first people in his class that he actually called by name after the fights.
Ah,
So
Because he
he-
respected her.
she was-
Yeah,
uh-huh.
that's true. It is
I
always
didn't know
funny
that.
when I know a
Not to
couple of people
mention
who's like
it's
that.
Not to mention, later on, it reveals that maybe sometimes having your first crush isn't always the best option.
Hmm.
interesting.
That's relatable.
This might be spoilers for me, but I don't know. Like, it doesn't seem like romance is the primary focus. I guess that's true of a lot of Shonen Jump I've read. Is they'll have little hints of romance, but it's kind of like maybe they don't want to chase away the boys who still think girls have cooties or something. So that's just going to be in the background. Yeah,
It could be part of it.
Yeah, they glance over the romance in My Hero, but they don't really. Nothing's really been like
Yeah, is it-
Anchored.
Yeah, nothing's really happened. So
Yeah, has anything like at this point in the story has anything really happened? Because to be honest, I completely forgot about her, and I had no idea that she was going to be a love interest. You know, I guess I'm kind of in the same boat as Spyro in saying, you know, I've got nothing against her, but you know, I didn't really
Yeah.
notice too much.
I mean, in the newer stuff, I mean, there's definitely still things that are like for sure she is interested, or it might just be turning into it's like she started off as maybe interested because people put that into her head, but which happens all the time. Somebody's like, oh, this guy likes you, and then you're like, oh wait, really? And then you start thinking about it, you're like, oh my gosh, maybe I like him too. I say that from experience. But um but yeah, I think her stuff is turning more into um maybe she just has a very very large respect for Deku, cuz like nothing that's even coming up even in the newest season and everything. I mean, it kind of could be seen as romantic feelings, but
I
I
think
don't
it's
know.
just that Deku is inspiring.
Yes.
His
Yeah.
suicidal nature is to save others is inspiring.
well,
So
it seems to be.
I don't
it
like
seems-
that choice of words with it,
It's
but
like it's like he's growing. Like, I buy the Deku is suicidal theory, but I think it's sort of like he's growing past that. Like, he starts off suicidal, but he transitions into a hero, right? So he's actually kind of like he's learning the difference between just being manic depressive, and he's learning the difference between being suicidal and being sacrificial, basically, right?
yeah,
and
that's
He's learning.
fine
He's
line.
learning that he can't
What's
do it
happening?
on his own. That he does
What?
need
Oh.
others, and that being like All Might isn't the best course of action.
Hey, just quick update. Sorry to bother you, but Tom has actually shown up, so I'm gonna be heading off.
You gotta duck out.
Yeah, so it was a pleasure to meet you, Spyro, and please take good care of Alice. One thing I was going to say, just in relation to what Marmaduke was mentioning about the working out stuff, because I missed that I wasn't on the stream for that. I was actually going to bring up Yukio Mishima and his whole like bodybuilding philosophy, like the strength of Japan coming from ancient samurais. But the last time I mentioned Yukio Mishima, I got permabanned from from Marmaduke fans channel.
I thought that was because you were sharing World War II propaganda with me.
Oh yeah,
Check out this
maybe
World War
it
II
was.
cartoon. Yeah.
I think it was either. I think I was in the middle of talking about Yukio Mishima, and I shared some World War II propaganda, like at the same time. So it was one of those two things got me permabanned. So I'm gonna if you're interested in it, look it up on your own.
Used YouTube smash on you. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was like a robot thing, but yeah. So you guys have a good day, and I'll talk to you later.
Yeah,
Thanks
you
for
too.
joining us. I'll punch you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
All right.
Did he leave? All right. Anyway, so in the manga, I'll kind of like help us follow along. So when Deku enters the testing area, he learns they have to do mock battles. The pro hero, President Mike, delivers it comedically, and Deku's a little nerd who always listens to his radio show. Something that was kind of cool in the manga that isn't in the anime is they explicitly make reference to Super Mario Brothers.
Yes, I noticed that
the test
too.
works.
Yeah, it was I thought that was so funny. As soon as I looked at that panel, I was like, "Oh, look, it's Mario." What the heck?
I actually think they call the special obstacle a thwomp at some point. Yeah, they compare it to a thwomp. So I don't know, just like a nice example of using something really simple and really, familiar to illustrate a concept. The mock tests are like a video game, and we meet Ida for the first time, and I love the design of this
I thought
character.
Ida was an ass at first.
Yeah.
I thought he was
I have
just
the same
going to be
impression.
someone who would just be like an opposite version of Bakugo, only by being like a Bakugo that was by the book rather than an aggressive little shit.
I mean, yeah,
Like-
I feel like him calling somebody out in the middle of like a giant. I think I would be like, if I were Deku, I would also be like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed because like being called out like that, that is kind of rude. Like,
I
but
would probably be giving him the middle finger.
But at the same time, like it's one of those things where Deku was like murmuring in the middle of everything and it made it harder. So he's just one of those people that like sometimes you wish you could be. I wish I could stand up and be like, "Shut up, we're watching a movie in a theater. Stop like talking amongst yourselves." but uh but yeah, you never get I'm not that type of person anyways, so
Yeah, I don't call people out normally either. Mostly because you get the feeling that you don't want to hurt their feelings. But Ida doesn't have that filter on him.
Nope.
He's a pokey person. So what stood out to me about Ida is I think Horikoshi designs his characters so their visual look directly matches their personality. So
Yep.
Ida has
did
eyes.
Did you see the official Horikoshi of how Ida would look as a girl?
No,
he doesn't look that different.
I'll Google it in the private. But the nice thing is Ida's literally kind of like a sharp, prickly person, and he has all these sharp, prickly angles to his design. He's literally kind of a square, right? And our first impression of him isn't. We don't have the best first impression of him, but we will get to know maybe like he's more than just like the first impression you have of him, and that actually seems to be consistent for a lot of these characters. They have one strong personality trait that stands out as we get to know them. That we find they're a little bit more developed than that.
Yeah, I think Horikoshi does that well too, because usually when you first meet someone, your first impression is what they show you first. The first personality trait they show you.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole like the character development in the show I think is fantastic because of the fact that you shouldn't read people you know, that whole thing is like, don't judge a
Don't
book
knock
by
it
its
till you tried
cover.
it.
Yeah, that sort of thing. But and is showing that there's multiple sides to people that you might not know about. And that's what I love about this series anyways, because like that's what the whole villains versus heroes thing too, is that there's more to these villains, there's more to these heroes than meets the eye or meets the public eye. And that's something that needs to be considered. It's about your heart, not necessarily what
Oh,
you do for a living.
that reminds me. It also of something else. The another thing that is bothered me, or whether it be whether it be MHA or any other superhero genre, is that they put the common people always put them on this high pedestal, like this
Mhm.
godlike, they could do no wrong pedestal, when in truth that the heroes are just
Yeah, it's similar to like um just celebrities in general. I mean, we put celebrities on pedestals and think that they've got these awesome lives, and really they don't. They're
uh,
unhappy individuals most of the time. Um, that just make it look like they're all fine and dandy, but really they're not. S-
And
yeah.
the early chapters dealt with that. Like there's heroes in
And
this universe who are
unfortunately,
only
those
doing
same
it.
celebrities, some of them want to take the ultimate dirt nap.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
you can have all the wealth and power in the world and still be miserable. Yeah, the rich
Mhm.
have their problems as well. Okay, so
Mhm.
for the test, here are a couple of things that stood out to me. So A, they have to do these rock battles and they're not given a countdown. It's just boom, go right now, and then everybody's kind of shocked at first, and Deku is instantly behind, right off the bat.
Mhm.
He has a flashback remembering eating All Might's hair and All Might giving him his kind of like warning and advice. So the warning is, yes, we made your body ready for my power, but you haven't even had a chance to try this out, and it's going to give you kickback. So there's
Mhm.
basically this element where Deku's never gotten to test drive it. He's going in basically blind, and before he can remember All Might's words for him, he's interrupted by his first opponent. So it's sort of like he's trying to get his head together, he's trying to get his head in the game, but the chaos is happening too
it's like
fast.
giving a 2-year-old a shotgun.
Yeah, and he freezes. One thing I like about this is we're coming back to Deku as a scaredy cat hero, where he is terrified of Bakugo. He's terrified of people and very nervous. And actually, everybody he's competing with kind of laughed at him and just assumed, oh, this guy's not going to be a problem. So when he faces his first robot opponent, he freezes and can't move like a deer. And I'm sorry, I forgot French belly button boys. I call him belly button boy. What's belly button boy's
Ayama.
name?
Um,
Ayama. All right.
Ayama. Yeah.
Aoyama or Mr.
Aoyama.
I Can't Stop Twinkling.
Yeah. So Aoyama is very calm under pressure, seemingly very calm under pressure, and just has like a gracious demeanor to him, in contrast to how freaked out Deku is. And not only is Deku
Did anyone
behind,
else get that weird feeling that Aoyama felt like he was a little backstabby with how he stole Deku's kill?
Mercy, I appreciate the assist. Yeah, he totally stole my kill. What a jerk.
I mean, it's very interesting, I think, just as like a side note about Ayama, because he actually flip-flops to the other side when you get to know him more. He's actually a big scaredy cat, and he feels like he doesn't deserve to be there, when you get into
Yeah.
some later episodes. So I just find that
Yeah.
interesting that he's the one that stole Deku's first kill, first point, and is like, "Oh, thanks for all your help," even though he did it. And then later, it's like he relies on Deku mostly. It's just an interesting
Yeah.
flip
The
flop.
first impression isn't always reliable.
Yep.
Uh-huh. People are not
So
all they seem at first glance.
this is a nice page as well for kind of showing how Horikoshi is building the secondary characters. So not only does Deku have 0 points, the others are kicking butt, and Ida's doing exceptionally well. So the teachers basically make the comment that different heroes use their powers in different kinds of ways. So there are information gatherers, there are speedsters like Ida, Aoyama. They kind of like highlight Aoyama as someone who's seemingly very calm under pressure, and mention Bakugo as someone who's like a natural born fighting genius, like a pure
powerhouse,
little bundle of rage. Yeah. So we're building like 4 characters at once in the background while telling Deku's story. There's a lot being juggled here. Deku basically can't. Oh, I lost my place there. But basically, the point is Deku can't find anybody to get a point on, and dun dun dun, the thwomp, the 0 point obstacle shows up, and it's ridiculously over the top large.
Right.
I want to highlight this. So when Ida runs past Deku, Deku basically collapses in fear. And Ida's comment is, people show their true colors when they face that thing. So once again, everybody's judging Deku as, oh, well, that's the weakling, that's the coward. I don't have to worry about him. And what changes is in the midst of all of this chaos, he notices the nice girl from earlier has tripped and fallen, and he remembers her words. It's a bad omen to trip and fall, right? So you can kind of tell his little heart is broken seeing this. And once again, Deku acts instinctively. So we're sort of revisiting the theme of chapter 1, where his legs move on their own without realizing it. He's forced into another situation where he's terrified, but his self-sacrificial desire forces him to move even though he can't move.
Right. And there was something about this part too that I really enjoyed, is that, like, at least from the anime, I don't remember if I looked at it in the manga part, but they do the same exact animation for when All Might threw that punch near the beginning, like in episode 1, against that villain, that sludgy villain, and he does the exact same animation then during this part where he's now doing the big ol' punch. And I liked that
Oh, I didn't catch that.
transition.
That's great. Yeah. So it's like it's visually connecting it. He's literally becoming his hero. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, there's a number of times. I mean, obviously we know that Deku like takes notes and is like all about, trying to make sure that he's learning all this stuff about all these heroes. But yeah, the things that he does, and that's why it was so important in the middle of the show where it was like, okay, you need to stop being All Might and you need to be you and yourself, and that's when it like suddenly shifted. But yeah, all the beginning he's like, it's all the same types of punches, all the same animation used for Deku and All Might.
He's copying his hero until he figures out who he is all by himself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And just like from an art like style standpoint, something that I did notice, specifically the manga section, when it comes to the drawings of Bakugo and Deku and how they relate to All Might. So All Might, we know, has like that silhouette look, and he's got like the crosshatch and stuff like that. So something that I noticed is that, like, so obviously he has a lot of like action lines whenever he's in big action scenes, but Deku also has a lot of like mostly action lines whenever he's doing stuff, but Bakugo has the crosshatch. So I thought that was really interesting in how he even cared about how he shaded each of these characters. It's like a part of them is a part of All Might too.
Yeah, because we're going to establish that Bakugo has similar feelings of respect for All Might, maybe a little different than how Deku expresses it, but both of them have a big ambition. I love this, by the way. We almost got British gentleman fop, Bakugo.
Yeah, that's right.
At first, I made him a natural-born genius who would inadvertently insult people, but that got pretty boring. So I went the other route and turned him into a nasty guy with an explosive personality. I'm glad he came out so unlikable. His face just screams, "I'm a rotten thief." And then there's like cute boy Bakugo. Why, I dare say anyone could pull it off. He was like this at first. This version just made me angry, though.
Yeah, I just
The thing
can't
is
imagine
that
that now.
I think Horikoshi is surprised that Bakugo is so popular and that he's considered one of the main three.
Yeah. It's really interesting. Like, he just made him as big a jerk as possible. And it's like that translated into, wow, this guy's really interesting. He's such a jerk.
Everybody
Yeah, but-
loves him now.
Not
that-
everyone. I can tell you that much.
No, I know. That's
Okay.
true.
I
If
feel like that's
Twitter's
what works with
anything to go by.
Yeah. Well, in Pokemon, like, everybody remembers the old rivals where the rival was just a big douche to you. And then in the new games, the rivals are super friendly. Hey, buddy, want to have a friendly Pokemon battle? No, I miss when my rival would tell me I was an idiot and he'd smell me later, right? That's what makes me want to beat him up, right? I really appreciate how thoughtful Horikoshi is about, like, he doesn't just like tweak and design, adjust his characters. Like, he thinks about every little detail about how they look and how they are, and he's really willing to like change his ideas. So, chapter 3 ends with Deku using the Detroit Smash for the first time and breaking his arm, and chapter 4 will wrap up the hero, the UA entrance exam storyline. Oh, this is nice. I like this page because his problem is he can't contain All Might's power. So the illustration of that is a cracked glass where water's leaking out in drops from the glass. So because he hasn't mastered how to use this power, it's literally like he just has like this giant shotgun explosion going off in his arm. So for now, Deku's use of his superpower is harmful to himself because he can't control his strength. He's hurting himself.
Like I said, a baby with a shotgun.
Yeah, exactly.
And in this case, his cup runneth over.
Yep. And look, he's crying again. Deku the crybaby. So the reason he's crying is he's been working hard for 10 months, and all of that work has only given him a place at the starting line. So even when you bust your butt and work really hard, sometimes all that gives you is the right to compete with other people who have also busted their butts. As he's afraid he's going to have to like break his last arm in order to break his fall, Ochako shows up at the last second, slaps him in the face to use her gravity power and save him at the last second. So it's kind of like
I would say more that she bitch slapped him.
I thought that was a backhand. Yeah. Anyway, it's heroic, but also kind of comedic. Like, poor Deku can't catch a break.
He's like, "Why'd you just smack me? I just saved your freaking life."
Yeah, but he loses consciousness once he hits the ground.
Yeah. Oh, then he starts scrambling, looking for just one point. Beep, time is over. So one kind of cool thing about this storyline is it kind of reminds me of the Chunin exams in Naruto, where in the Chunin exams, there would often be this theme that they're giving the test and here are the rules of the test, but there's a trick. There's some secret about the test that the students don't know. And there's kind of like this neat bit where Ida puts 2 and 2 together and thinks, oh, wait a second. I wonder if there was more to this test than meets the eye. So the setup is there's no way that could pass.
Yeah, that's
the thing is,
there.
I think I know why they do stuff like that. It's because they don't want the kids to get into the act of actually helping each other. So Bakugo probably wouldn't help anyone, not even if it was part of the test.
Yeah, the only way to test heroism is to not make it a reward. It's a secret because they're rewarding you for showing heroic qualities at the exam. One more thing about Ida is one of the neat things that's happened is everybody judged Deku as a loser. Ida is kind of the first to figure out that there's more to Deku than they thought. And he kind of has this great line, well, I would have done the same thing if it wasn't a test. But There's a way where Deku's heroism kind of inspired Ochako to become a hero to save him back, and kind of shamed Ida into realizing he judged Deku too quickly. Like Ida was sort of being so fussy and so concentrated on what he thought the test was that he
Had
missed
to
the
stick up his
heroism.
ass.
Yeah. We meet Recovery Girl, who's the school nurse, and she gives little granny smooches to heal people. And Deku basically goes home, kind of phased out and afraid that he screwed up. I like the detail that his mom's really worried about him and really wants him to get in. But his acceptance letter arrives, and it's a hologram from All Might explaining the test results. And the twisteroo is there was more to the test. There's also this nice scene where we see that Ochako was very touched by Deku and wanted to give him some of her points, but you can't give someone your points, but that's okay because Deku is awarded 60 points for his heroic action, and based on that, he's able to go to UA. And All Might gives him like the memorable invitation. Come, Midoriya, this will be your hero academy. So Deku's heroism is rewarded, even though he thought he bombed his test, basically. And he cries, of course.
Of course.
Blubbering tears. Thoughts on the thoughts on the whole entrance exam story storyline, Spyro and Alice.
Well, I think it's really relatable for real life too. There's all like trying to wrap my brain around it at the moment, but it's not always cut and dry with like getting into your dream job, your dream school, like and it's just interesting how everybody's lives, everybody's abilities are a little bit different and how they can use them to realize something even greater than they thought for themselves.
I still don't know how Mineta got past that.
I would like to know that too.
Just put a bubblegum drop under all the robots, and they just kept tripping over them. Yeah,
maybe actually,
we'll
that's a good
know.
idea. Oh, that's so funny. I never thought of that. Yeah.
I also wonder how Eraserhead got past that too.
Yeah.
Because they don't have.
They really don't have powerhouses, and the robots don't exactly have quirks that he can erase. So how exactly did he get past that?
Which is something that's kind of questioned later, right? Like I forget his name, but the character who has the power of mind controlling people. They kind of make the point that Shinzo. So they kind of make the point that UA seems to favor people with, fighting ability quirks, and lots of people have very unique quirks that could be dead useful if you find a creative way of using them. But if it's not punching and kicking people, UA maybe struggle to know how to like include you in their program. Earlier I asked about Ochako, and these are I'll just read these because I just love these so much. So here are Horikoshi's design notes for Ochako. I plan to have her appear with Izuku a lot, so she needed to be cheery enough to drive their conversations. She's unexpectedly brazen and frank, proof that there's no hidden side to her, if you catch my drift. Early on, Mount Lady, who appeared in Chapter 1, was going to be the heroine, but when it comes to a girl whose only power is growing, taking that to its logical conclusions just brought about all sorts of problems. And the character started getting pretty dark, so I changed her. The moment when I came up with her name was the first time in my manga career when I thought myself a true genius. It's such a nuanced name. Editor's note, her name literally means T-girl pretty day, with her last name being a homophone with one way to say beautiful. So he thinks about the name and the meaning of the name. I like how he thinks about the personality of the character and how that will impact things. So earlier we saw like Deku thought, I talked to a girl. So what kind of girl do you need to pair with Deku? Well, you need a talkative girl to pair with a very shy, introverted young man. So he thinks about relationship dynamics.
No, that's important because I feel like if she was also shy, I don't think either of them would be talking. They'd just be blushing and looking the other direction while next to each other,
Yeah.
like the entire
Actually,
time.
I'm not gonna say a word about that one.
Too many shy. Notice me, senpai. Deku, notice me, senpai. Ochaku, notice me, senpai. No, that wouldn't work. All right.
Oh
Fuck,
boy.
my brain.
Uh,
All right. Well, I'll give you guys just my overall thoughts. So
Mhm.
I was kind of like Punchy, where when the twist came that Deku is going to be given a superpower, I was kind of worried about the direction the series was going, because my expectation was this is going to be a story about a boy with no superpowers becoming a superhero, and him receiving the power sort of changes the tone of everything. Now he does have a superpower, but his new problem is he doesn't know how to control it. I really liked how the theme of heroism was worked into chapters 3 and 4, where he has to make another self-sacrificial call. It's sort of like what All Might noticed about Deku, that he's self-sacrificial. That wasn't just a one-off thing. It's something that's consistently true about Deku, that he is willing to sacrifice himself, but also that he's able to inspire others to be more like him and do what's actually heroic, and not just do what's sort of show-offy or gets you the most points on a test. So I really like the theme of these episodes.
Yeah, I agree. There was a part too that you were talking about with oh gosh, see my brain just stopping. But it was near the end, right before you were talking about Ochako's design. But it just like the whole show has this huge theme of just like anybody can be a good person and be a hero. Um, no matter what. And I love that theme because yeah, it's like, oh, I think you were talking about the schooling. So like and how everybody goes towards like the powerhouse heroes and everything like that. But like the whole theme of the show is like it doesn't matter what you bring to the table. You're able to do something with it and make an impact to anybody and everybody, and that's something that like even in these few chapters I you could already get that theme down, and it just like keeps going throughout the series, and I really enjoy
Yeah.
that about this sort of underdog sort of thing, because it's something that I really relate to, going to a school. I mean, you know, you go to a school that has a bunch of people who are like fantastic at art. They've learned their color theory, they've done uh, all their prerequisites, and they're like pristine artists at this place. And then there was me, and I'm like, yeah, I realized I wanted to do art at like my last year of high school, so I like took a class. And it's
Yeah,
just nice to
I
know
know, I
that,
know that feeling.
yeah, so it's nice to have stories like this where it's not, even though you're going into a place that these people have been preened to be heroes, or like they have certain qualifications that are like you're going to be the best in class, but it's like no, other people have other things that they can bring as well, and they can make just as big of an impact, if not more, than the people that are supposed to be the best.
Mhm.
And that's something that I take from it, just from my personal experience from college.
Yeah. Quirks are like talents, but Deku's
Mhm.
heroism isn't his quirk. Deku's heroism is his diligence and his
Mhm.
self-sacrificial nature. Yeah,
Right. He didn't technically
very good.
need to have the quirk given to him to be a good person, good hero, but that's the way the story is kind of rolling, but we're going to see what it's like to have a good person like that be gifted something that he didn't think he'd ever have.
Yeah.
So
And
Yeah,
yeah.
also
just
neat.
me, or did Deku look like he was a beaten up rag doll?
He was
Yes.
being a rag doll.
Like when he's got
After he,
like his broken arm and broken legs, you mean?
uh-huh.
Yes. I
Yeah,
always
poor
thought it
Deku.
was interesting with the purple choice. I guess it's like bruising just all along the arm, and that was like the best way for them to describe like this leg is busted. He can't
Yeah.
use it.
It's a different color.
It's purple now. Yeah.
Well, if you
I
do
actually took a
break
little
something, there is some discoloration, really.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I copied that idea for my comic Jane Smith Wannabe Gladiator. The arm's broken.
Oh,
How
yeah.
do I show the arm is broken? It's reddish colored because it's hurt.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe a little
Or you can
wobbly.
have it facing a completely different angle, which
I did some of that
also
too.
happened
Yeah.
here.
Woo.
Yeah, I don't think someone's foot is supposed to be that way.
It is interesting that going back to like the kid with the shotgun idea, yeah, the kickback. All Might's warning came true, right? He said, "I've got to make you strong just so that you can handle the power." And even though he kind of like told Deku that was a problem in the action, it turned out to be much more than Deku was expecting. Just using it is enough to hurt himself. So it kind of set it up, and then the surprise at the end is how the heck is he going to be able to use this if he hurts himself every single time he uses his power? So it's sort of like a new problem. The old problem was, how can a kid without a superpower become a superhero? And now the new problem is, man, this guy can't use his superpower. This sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always something that comes up for him. It's like then as soon as he figures out how to use it, then he's given something new and you're like, well, crap.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Very cool. All right, that is the end of that's the end of the last chapter we were going to discuss today. So I'll just kind of like open the floors. Is there anything like why should people read My Hero? Spyro, you were really getting into it, like the themes of heroism and kind of like of talent. Talent isn't destiny, right? Like with diligence, you can become an ordinary person can become a hero too. I think that's that's a great, it's a beautiful theme, and it's well woven into the story. What are some other aspects of My Hero Academia that you appreciate?
If you have a dream, don't give up.
That's true. Yeah, no, that's
you may have to work
exactly it.
harder, but sometimes that working harder is better.
Yeah, but also remember to
But
take
also,
breaks.
yeah, don't go. I forgot to talk about this. When President Mike was giving the motto of the school is plus ultra, which is sort of like a weird translation of a Napoleon Bonaparte quote, "Go beyond." So you do want to go beyond. You do want to push yourself past your limits, and you want to push yourself past your weaknesses and suffering, right? Which is what Deku's literally done. But you want to balance that with basically care for yourself, right? Care for yourself means you don't kill yourself to do it. You do what you need to do the job right, and to shoulder this responsibility. So I did appreciate that the logo for the school, the motto for the school actually has some like significant. It's not just a cool sounding catchphrase. It actually has some. It has relevance to the theme of the story itself.
Right. I mean, it's like, how are you going to take care of somebody else if you can't even take care of yourself? You know, like if you are in so much pain that you can barely walk, how are you going to save the person that is next to you that doesn't have the same powers as you? You know, like it's good to have that balance of like sometimes you have to run away. And that was like with and that's getting into some later episodes, but like with the teachers versus the students, but it's like how are you going to deal with this? Do you fight and win against the villain, or do you win by getting away from the arena? And they had to make that decision of like
that's the part that I was talking about
Yep.
earlier with the Megalovania song.
Yeah, and that was like the reason why they were like, okay, you know what? We're not going to be able to fight this, so you have to get out so you can fight another day. And I think that's really important as a life lesson, you know, to be able to learn that like it's not always about fight, 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 win, win, win. Because you know what? You got to know when you're not going to win something, and you got to make sure that you can get out, become better, and then try again, you know, later.
Matthew Reese,
Excelsior!
Plus Ultra is a synonym to Excelsior, making it a Marvel Comics reference.
Yep.
Matthew Reese runs the most interesting and least professional indie comics podcast on YouTube. I'm frequently a guest there, but go check out Matthew Reese for indie comics discussion.
Awesome.
Ooh, maybe nothing. Nothing. Sorry, something
All
got
right.
into my head.
All right. Well, thank you, Spyro, and thank you, Alice. I had a lot of fun. I have linked to you guys' art accounts in the description. I'll update it if you guys have other artist websites, but go check them both out. They take commissions. They do fun illustrations, and this was my first podcast with Spyro, but going back years, I remember us having like nerdy discussions about anime characters in the latest hip anime. So hopefully we'll have more opportunities to discuss My Hero Academia. If you guys have other series you would like to recommend we check out, let us know in the comments, and we will check them out behind the scenes. What's that? Oh, Bahis Bahamut says, Tape Guy Cero was inspired by Spider-Man. Yep, I could.
You're
you can
correct,
kinda see that.
Bahis. He was.
Very, very cool. So Spyro and Alice, I will give you guys the floor if you want a chance to talk about any cool, are there any other cool anime you're reading recently that you think people should check out? If you're doing any cool art projects you think people should check out, I'll give you the floor.
Okay.
Alice, how about you first and then Spyro?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm working on a novel called Ripple, and there's a teaser for it link that I posted on my Twitter. Also, commissions are open. Not only that, but watch Made in Abyss. It's awesome.
That's on my list.
Yes, please do.
That's on my list too.
Because
Yeah,
if we talk about that, it will be awesome.
very cool.
Yeah, so I'm Spyro Shurtagul, or people just call me Spyro, and I guess not really. I have a lot of commissions currently to go through, but yes, my commissions are open still. I you can find me a lot on like Twitch, where I stream my art or we play video games. It's quite fun if you guys wanted to come by and say hi. Otherwise, my favorite show that everybody should be watching is Code Geass, in my opinion. So if you haven't seen, what do you mean? Oh man, have you seen it?
I should have you on to debate. I hated that when I tried to read it. I couldn't stand it.
Yeah, same
How
here.
dare you? Okay, yes, I would be interested in that. But yes, Code Geass is my top tier anime. It is everything I would love. Anyways, so I think people should watch that.
All right.
Otherwise, I am watching Inuyasha at the moment because I didn't grow up with that, so this is my first time going through it.
I grew up with it.
I wasn't allowed to watch anime as a kid, so.
Oh yeah.
I had to sneak around. I had to sneak around the and watch it behind everyone's back. So you'd probably find me.
I wasn't allowed to watch
me hiding behind the couch watching it while my uncle was watching it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh wow.
And you weren't allowed to watch it either?
No.
Josh, yeah.
Super Friends and Power Rangers were banned for some reason. I never understood the reasoning for why they were banned. They just were.
Yeah, it was like something my mom was just like, this is too violent, or it has scary monsters. You shouldn't be watching this. So, and I was like,
I mean,
okay.
I guess it makes sense, yeah, but parents are the ones who have to deal with it if you wake up at night having nightmares of a monster.
This is true. No, 100%.
Oh, you don't even want to hear how bad Jeepers Creepers affected me. I didn't want to walk outside alone for a long time.
So maybe our Midwest suburban moms were right all along.
Oh, that reminds me, the Blob too. When I saw that, I didn't want to get anywhere near a drain or sink for like the next 3 years.
Yeah.
For me, it was the goblins in the Hobbit cartoon. They freaked me out because they showed the big teeth and the drool. Yeah. Well, okay. Maybe next time we'll talk about cartoons that traumatized us as children. That could be a treat.
Oh, how about the Never-Ending Story?
Oh yeah, and the horse.
When you saw
and
when you saw the wolf, and it was like covered in darkness, and all of a sudden it talked to you, and and it was like nightmarish because you were like, "What is that? What is that? What is that?"
That's a disturbing book. Yeah, it's an
I've
exciting
actually
book
never
because of
watched
that.
it.
Okay. Yeah, it's traumatizing. It's good. It's maybe the good traumatizing. Yeah. Maybe.
Light.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me. Thanks for everyone who joined us in the chat. Thank you for your comments, and thank you to my two guests. So links in the description. Support independent artists. We're big on that on this show. So with that, I love you guys, and we will catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.